Imagine you're the son of the Demon King. Without a doubt, Muzan is a force to be reckoned with in the Demon Slayer verse. But what if Tanjiro, the character who played a huge part in slaying the Demon King, was his son? Just how catastrophic would the story be? This alteration will for sure take the story in a new path, and I created 2 different scenarios for this video. Without further delay, here's what would happen if Muzan was Tanjiro's father. For the first scenario, we have to ask the question, what if Muzan chose Tanjiro's mother to carry his child? Well, certainly that would be a crazy twist, but we all know how toxic Muzan is, and toward his many wives, Muzan is abusive to say the least. He mistreated each of his wives so horrendously that he drove each one of them to commit suicide. Obviously, that did not dissuade him from continuing to attract innocent women, so the prospect of Nezuko or any other sibling even being born after Tanjiro would be quite impossible, because Muzan is a huge jerk. But what do you think? Shortly after Tanjiro is born, let's just say his mother decides to bail on him because his father, Muzan, is super abusive toward him. So, would there be any difference since Tanjiro's the only sibling that was born? Well, if Nezuko wouldn't exist, Muzan would never know that a demon could be immune to the sun. Oh, and it wouldn't be Kamado Tanjiro, it would be Kibutsuji Tanjiro, because, you know, Muzan is Tanjiro's father. But anyway, as Tanjiro grows up, we see him showing potential in being a demon, assuming he is able to withstand the effects of Muzan's blood. And can he? Well, he absolutely can withstand it because he's a direct descendant of Muzan. As he grows up under the watchful eyes of his father, Kibutsuji Muzan, and with the lack of love from his mother, let's just say Tanjiro grows up to be a guy willing to inherit his father's will in becoming the perfect demon, or his loyalty allows him in becoming a test subject so his father can become the perfect being himself, making him a demon that obeys his father's orders without batting an eye. In short, he becomes a slave to his father, and an enemy of the Demon Slayer Corps. Although we all know why the Kamado siblings were able to overcome the sun, but if you don't, then I'll just spoil you. So what is it? Well, it's because they are all from a lineage that practices sun breathing, and some people believe that Nezuko was able to overcome the sun because of her abstinence from human blood. But this time around, Tanjiro becomes the direct descendant of the Demon King, and abstinence is just not in Tanjiro's vocabulary, so he just goes around consuming humans like the demon he is. Tanjiro would certainly be placed among high-ranking demons, considering his potential, and because he is Muzan's son. Also, anime dictates that if you're the son of a strong person, you yourself should also be strong. I mean, look at some of the famous anime MCs we have right now. That's why I assume Tanjiro, being the son of Muzan, should also be put in the same ranks as the Upper Moons. So basically in this scenario, Tanjiro becomes a puppet for Muzan, much like all the other demons under his control. Tanjiro becomes an emotionless dog that serves its owner with utmost loyalty. In a nutshell, he becomes a bad guy, with no chance of having a redemption story as he fulfills his role to gain Muzan's recognition. So what would be the ending of this scenario? Well, it would most likely end with both Muzan and Tanjiro obliterating the Demon Slayer Corps and continuing their research to become immune to the sun. The second scenario is a more elaborate one, since in this scenario, I'll really squeeze in that idea that Tanjiro becomes a good guy. But how exactly does he become evil? Now, this is all purely hypothetical, so in this second scenario, Tanjiro's mother never bailed on him, but Muzan is still abusive towards her. But for the sake of her son, she endured it. Now, as Tanjiro grows older, he is exposed to his father's cruelty against his mother, so what does he do? Well, naturally, as a son who was nourished with love by his mother, the sight of his father abusing her made Tanjiro plant a seed of hatred towards Muzan. Tanjiro, being a direct descendant of Muzan, is also given huge potential as a demon, but he could never use his strength against his father because he is afraid of him. I mean, come on. We all know how sadistic and ruthless towards everyone Muzan is, right? And if I were to compare him, he'd be like Frieza from Dragon Ball. So instead of going against his father, Tanjiro carries out his wishes against his will out of fear that he might be beaten, or worse, Muzan will hurt his mother. But what about his siblings? Well, if you're curious about whether Nezuko and his other siblings would be born, the answer is no, since Tanjiro's mother would no longer want to have children with Muzan. Because of Tanjiro's newfound desire to protect humans and the loyalty he has for his father, born from fear, this could lead to conflicting emotions and decisions throughout the story. This scenario is very much similar to how Tamayo felt when she was still under Muzan's control. The only reason Tamayo was able to break free from Muzan was because of his knight in shining armor Yoriichi, which weakened Muzan, giving Tamayo the chance to escape. But sadly, Tanjiro doesn't have this type of savior, so how does he escape? Well, the only chance I see for Tanjiro to escape his father's grasp would be during the final countdown arc, where Muzan is poisoned and pushed closer to death, significantly weakening him. At this point, Tanjiro could possibly break free from his father's grasp and would be able to somehow get revenge for all the abuse he and his mother would suffer from. This also means that none of the Demon Slayers or Hashiras would be able to unlock their Demon Slayer marks, because perhaps one of the most important prerequisites in unlocking the mark is that one must be in contact with an individual that possesses the mark or has been marked before. The Hashiras in this story would be different. Tengen would have died without Tanjiro's help, and some other characters would suffer the same fate. It's safe to assume that the only Hashiras that are similar to the current timeline that is here are Gyu, Sanemi, Shinobu, Gyome, and Obanai. The upper moons would also be different, considering that if Tanjiro would be a part of them, at least one member would be changed. Back in the fight, just how strong can Tanjiro be? Well, in terms of strength, Tanjiro would be strong enough to take on his father since the Kibutsuji blood runs through him. And since he does what his father wants, it would be safe to assume that he too has consumed a lot of human blood against his will, making him stronger. And like I said, he'd be on the same level as the upper moons. Tanjiro would also have his very own blood demon art. As soon as Tanjiro breaks free from his father's grasp, his redemption story begins. Fueled by his hatred, he instantly goes after his father, arriving on the battlefield to help the Demon Slayer Corps in decapitating him, quickly earning the Demon Slayer's trust by showing them the bloodlust he has toward his father. The Hashiras present at that time had no other choice but to quickly back him up. As Muzan is overcome by the sense of betrayal from his very own son, he lashes out in desperation to escape the danger he is in. Seeing how weak he has gotten because of Tamayo's poison, Tanjiro quickly reveals to his newfound allies about Muzan's secret, which is him having 7 hearts and 7 brains, and how he can move them independently to avoid being damaged. This quickly gives the Hashiras and other participants an edge against Muzan, because at this point in the battle, the old scars Muzan received from Yoriichi during their encounter start showing, hinting to everyone where they should strike in order to slay the Demon King. With Tanjiro going all out against his father, he quickly turns the tide of the fight in their favor. He acts as the tank for the Hashiras, intercepting any fatal blow they might receive from Muzan. As Muzan further feels the effects of the poison and grows weaker by the minute, Tanjiro and the others do not give him a chance to recover as the first ray of sunlight hits the ground. Muzan panics and grows even more desperate to escape and transforms into a giant baby as a last resort. Upon seeing this, Tanjiro, without hesitation, leaps in and pins Muzan down to the ground with all his might, sacrificing himself to end his father's cruelty and set his mother and himself free from the abuse. By then, he effectively fulfills his mother's wishes that he does what is right and protects those that need it. Now, it's important to note that I have not included Tanjiro's mother in the second scenario, apart from her not bailing out on him. But as soon as Tanjiro was free from his father's control, he quickly made sure to secure his mother's safety in the event of his failing to end his father's life. At least Tanjiro can rest easy knowing his mother is finally safe. Another important detail that would give the story a massive turn is that Tanjiro Kamado, who is the original father of Tanjiro, would be the last of the Kamado bloodline and possibly the last user of the sun-breathing technique, since he would not have been able to marry and have kids. So that is my answer to what if Muzan was Tanjiro's father. What do you guys think? The story would change drastically, and it would be very devastating if Muzan was actually Tanjiro's father. If you guys would like to see more videos like this one, or even a part 2, drop a comment below and let us know. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.